Hey everybody, you're going to see a clip from our brand new Journo Insight show with the Liverpool Echo's Paul Gorst. In this clip, we talk all about Liverpool's reported interest in Levi Colwill and what they might or might not do at centre-back this summer. If you want to check out the show in full, in video or podcast form, just head on over to redmenplus.com. If you sign up and subscribe there, you'll get the show, like I say, each and every week with Paul Gorst as our new Journo. See you all there. Let's move on to spending some money then. Like we always, forget about the outs, but they're boring. Let's talk about some potential incomings. Kieran Gill from the Daily Mail, again, tweeted last night. Liverpool, like Levi Colwill, Arne Slot is chasing a versatile left-footed defender, but Chelsea want a 21 academy graduate to stay this summer. He's contracted until 2029, Chelsea, with the option of a further year. I think it's no secret Liverpool like Levi Colwill. It's interesting that the timing of this coming out, Paul, along with the fact that there's been reports that Chelsea again, potentially you mentioned before with Forest, potential PSR situations around, and one way to get around that is to sell an academy graduate. Yeah. Because there's no profit. It's all pure profit. It's pure profit. Yeah. That's why Conor Gallagher's being linked with moves away as well. Chelsea are pushing up against it. New manager about to come in as well, another one at Chelsea. I found this, I don't know, timing of this coming out was quite strange. It's because, is there anything in this? I don't know, what your thoughts on it? Oh no, I think we can all agree Liverpool probably like the player. Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite sad that as a sort of football fraternity, we've all come to know what the phrase pure profit represents. Yeah, sad, isn't it? But yeah, no, Liverpool have liked Levi Colwill for a long time. I think they knew there was too many hoops to jump through last summer when he sort of made his mark at Brighton and they wanted him and he was still a Chelsea player. Maybe there are fewer hoops to jump through this summer, but I still think with him being a Chelsea player, they'd be reluctant to sell to a club who they still see as a rival, and probably rightly so, in fairness. But yeah, the PSR issue is something that is there for Chelsea, and they're going to have to navigate that with a new manager who might see things differently in terms of how he wants to reshape the squad, and Chelsea are never scared to go headfirst into the transfer market, are they, and rip things up and start again. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Liverpool like the fact that he's a young England under 21 international, left-footed, plays on the left side of that defence, which is an area where they have been looking at long term. But in terms of is it any more advanced than it was last summer, I'm not too sure at the moment. But certainly as a player, they do like him, and for good reason as well. I haven't seen too much of him other than, seem to be playing earlier in the season under Pochettino, but it's difficult to second guess Chelsea, isn't it, with the wildness that sort of just exists around them constantly. Exactly. I was saying this today. Usually you can get a sense of a football club what they might and might not do. With Chelsea, it's impossible to get a read on it. Yeah. They look like the team was getting better, and then the manager's gone, and then with all due respect, they're bringing in a guy who's a year or two's managerial experience and did really well at Leicester, but now he's making that step up. They're a weird club to try and get your head around. Yeah. Like a lot of clubs are quite predictable. Like Real Madrid signing Kylian Mbappe is the most predictable Real Madrid move of all time. I mean, you can go through it with a lot of teams. It's hard to get a grasp. Chelsea, now we know at the moment is signing young players on massive contracts. It goes back to that 2029 thing that we've got there. But yeah, they're a very unpredictable side to even trying to get a read on. They're crazy. Like, a year at Chelsea is sort of 5 years at other clubs, Edward Mendy and Koulibaly and, players like that who only came in 2 years ago. Lukaku signed 3 years ago. That seems like an eternity ago now, doesn't it? If he's at Liverpool, he's... That's like 6 managers since then, I think. Yeah, if Lukaku's at Liverpool, he's 3 years into a 5 or 6 year deal and there's no talk of his future at all. It's just a crazy set of circumstances that, exist around that football club and has done for best part of 20 years, but at the moment it's even more surreal than it's ever been, and that's why it's difficult to second guess what they might do. But what you would say is Liverpool do like Levi Colwill. He would represent pure profit for them if they sold him, and that, I guess, is where the situation is at the moment. Makes sense as well. We spoke earlier about Sepp Vandenberg, left-sided centre-backs and what Liverpool want to do. I think we both agree that Liverpool probably need to sign a centre-back this season, whether it's Colwill or someone else. Is that your understanding, that you think that is something that they are looking to try and get done if they can? Yeah, I mean, what's going to be interesting is, the 1st of June sees the official arrival of Hughes as sporting director and Edwards as the CEO of football and Arne Slot as the head coach. And until the players return for pre-season, sort of mid-July, there's not a whole lot of coaching for Slot to do. So
a lot of those talks with Hughes and Edwards are probably going to centre around recruitment and transfers and what they can do. And I imagine Slot will want to look at the squad up close to get a handle on who he thinks is good and who's going to fit in for him. Because let's face it, it's going to be a squad that's better than anything he's been used to previously in the Eredivisie with Feyenoord and, you know, going back to AZ Alkmaar and even before that. So I reckon he's going to want a real good look at the squad before, you know, certain decisions are made. But until then, Liverpool are going to have to be proactive and make a move on what they want to do transfer-wise. So I think the coming weeks are going to be really interesting on transfer links, and it's a bit of a blank canvas, isn't it? You know, like you say, you could sort of second guess what was going to happen with Liverpool under Klopp, and Edwards and Julian Ward. Now it's a totally new setup and a new structure, and you can't sort of see through certain links. So everything that you see now has maybe got legs, and it gives us stuff to talk about.
Absolutely, because I was thinking, like, in theory, Joe Matip's leaving, so you just go, right, well, we need a centre-back. And that makes perfect sense. But then there's a world where you say, actually, we moved Joe Gomez back to centre-back because now we've got the emergence of Conor Bradley at right-back means that we didn't know we had that, and now we've got that, and we've actually got 2 left-backs as well, and maybe we'd look to spend elsewhere. I don't know if it is just as straightforward as Matip's gone, we're going to bring somebody else in. I think we'd all probably, well, I would like them to sign somebody, but I think, I don't think we can say it's absolutely nailed on that they're going to do that.
No, you're right. You are right, and with Liverpool, they've never been, you know, scared to make courageous decisions. You know, decisions that some fans disagree with in terms of, you know, recruitment, bringing in players at certain points. Yeah. But they certainly trust their own judgments and the courage of their own convictions. And to be honest, I think a lot of that has been borne out with the move for Slot. I think he was a bit of a left field appointment, and not someone who was immediately jumping off the page as a lot of fans' first choice when it came out that Liverpool had made the move to Feyenoord last month. So that's why, for me, it's going to be really interesting, because you can't sort of dismiss links as nonsense, and, you know, maybe there's something in that and whatever else. So it's going to be really fascinating, huge summer. I don't think it's going to be massive in terms of a revolving door of incomings and outgoings the way it was sort of last summer with 5 leaving and 4 coming in. But there will be tweaks, and it's going to be a really interesting summer, I think. Well,
like I say, they've already lost 2 players already in Matip and Thiago, and there might be more to go. Like I say, I felt last summer was interesting. Obviously, it was good for us to talk about, and lost the right about in players, you know, outgoings, incomings, and bids for world record bids for players and all that kind of stuff. I don't get the sense that's something that Michael Edwards and that new setup actually want to go back to, because it did feel a little bit chaotic at times. Because you mentioned before, you know, they start, well, it's tomorrow, isn't it, officially, but they getting their ducks in a row, I suppose, or they have to have trying to get all the ducks in a row early doors. It's just whether, like I say, because the interesting thing is this Euros. You mentioned that Slot wants to look at his team. He's not going to have half of them until the end of the year. So it might have to be that some decisions have to be made without really having, you know, you mentioned someone like a Vandenberg. Do we have to get rid? Not get rid, but do we have to make a call on him without really getting a chance to look at them? You know, he's not going to have, you'd imagine, you know, Holland and France and England could all go far in the Euros, Portugal as well. Like, there are a lot of players there he's not going to be able to get a chance to look at. So some of these decisions might have to be made, or have already have been made, or potentially. Yeah,
100%. We know, you know, so Klopp told FSG he was leaving in November, didn't he? The news became public at the end of January. By March, Liverpool had reappointed, or FSG had reappointed Edwards, and Hughes was getting told he was coming in, and then we had the news with Julian Ward and Pedro Marquez. So Liverpool, or FSG, being really proactive in what they're doing, and don't see any reason why that wouldn't be the case for the continuation of the squad. And I think a key thing for Slot coming in is Liverpool felt he didn't have to rip up the blueprint of what Klopp had put down. They didn't expect him to be leaving, so they sort of built that squad at great cost for the foreseeable future under Klopp. So they didn't, you know, bringing in, say, Ruben Amorim, for example, or even Xabi Alonso. He plays with 3 at the back, so that means they're going to have to maybe bring in 2 extra centre-backs, and they're going to have to do some movements here or there. And essentially, it's more about evolution than a revolution at Liverpool this summer. But you are right, I guess decisions are going to have to be made sooner rather than later, because the longer it drags on, the more difficult it gets. And you know, you don't want to be scrabbling around once the season's began in August and you're trying to see what you can pull off, because that's absolute recipe for disaster for a new manager who's looking to sort of navigate his way through at a level he's never been at.
I think you saw, we're talking about defenders here, but we saw that with like a Ryan Gravenberch. He never really settled, and he's done okay. And congratulations, he's been called back up to the Dutch squad. But he come in on deadline day, and you're always playing catch up. I think especially with a new manager and a new regime, I'd like to think they probably would want to get, if they do want to get a new centre back or whatever they want to get done. I imagine they would probably prefer, well, everyone would, but there should be a real emphasis on trying to get it done a little bit early, just to give everyone a better chance.
100%, yeah. And particularly with Gravenberch, who's someone who they were after for a good while, probably like best part of 6 months before he signs. Then he comes in and he snubs on the 21's duty because he wants to settle in his, just little things like sorting out where you're going to live, a car and your family and all that type of stuff. And then you're trying to adjust to a new team when the season's already started, and then you've fallen out of favour with your national setup, and you've got to put in the extra yards to try and get back in their good graces. And that is not an ideal situation. So Liverpool will, you'd imagine, look to avoid that as best they can for this summer.
Absolutely. I mean, back to Levi Colwill, so we'll keep an eye on that one throughout. I'm sure you'll be reporting it all in the Echo every single day. Keep an eye on Paul's reporting for that one.